We are now on part 8 of the Empowered You series. And in part 8, we are going to look at the identity that comes from the thoughts. Remember, we have been working our way through looking at the fears and then the feelings that come from those fears. And then the thoughts that come from the feelings. Now we're going to look at the identity that comes from those thoughts. Now, back in part 6, we looked at the thoughts of shame, the shame that gets locked in, the language that people use. Well, that language that keeps getting repeated is helping them to develop a sense of self and identity. And it's this identity that gets formed very early on. And really that identity gets hardwired in their brain. It gets grooved into their brain. Because that's going to help them to survive. That's going to help them to survive in their family. And it's this identity that usually isn't a very empowered one, especially early on. But the problem is it keeps getting grooved, and those grooves get wider, and those pathways get more difficult to change the older that they get. And, you know, we look at someone's brain not really fully developed until they're 25. Well, a lot of stuff happens before they turn 25. And if your client is past that age, you're going to have work with them. And if you're past that age, you're going to have to be a little bit more gentle on yourself. Well, why? I want to change. Well, there's a lot of internal conflict that goes on when you do try to change, because it's like, whoop, nope, survival, that is our main goal. And the other problem is too, when you go back into environments, you may have changed, but they don't see you as changing. So we look at here this image I have, this unconscious bias. And when I was, connecting with family at my mom's funeral, it was amazing, the comments from well-meaning family members that I haven't seen. These were relatives on my dad's side of the family, and likewise relatives on my mom's side of the family that I don't see a lot because they don't live where my mom lived, where I grew up. And this one cousin of my dad said, "Oh, you used to be this pudgy. Like, what's happened?" So yeah, when we talk about unconscious bias, that was programmed in me because that's all I heard growing up from these well-meaning relatives. And again, this is years and years later. And that's the first thing that she says to me, not, "Oh, I'm sorry, in the passing of your mother." And no, what? And then her mother, my aunt, is just like, hugging me, but she's not just hugging me, she's feeling my waist. And I'm, oh my goodness. So this is the thing. You go back into an environment where everyone has you pegged as being a certain type of person, a certain identity of looking a certain way, and you're thinking, well, I haven't been that way in so long. That's not even who I am. But in their mind, that is. So all of a sudden, it's this internal conflict that happens because when you are stressed, right? The example that I gave you, I was so stressed from that whole experience. And it's just that survival instinct starts kicking in. So all of a sudden, I start, I'm there. So there's some donuts or, Nanaimo bars or whatever. Oh, I think I'm going to have some. I haven't had sugar in I don't know how long. Crazy, but true. And it's those survival instincts. Oh, yeah, that's how I fit into my family. I was always the pudgy and, cute, plain, pudgy, smart one, but cute, plain, pudgy. And unreal, but true. So don't think that, oh yeah, well, I've I'm on this path, and you go back into a situation where everyone has you pegged, this unconscious bias, not just society, but your family, and there's that conflict of identity. And it can happen for your clients. And I remember sitting down with clients, and I just couldn't, well, come on, you've come so far. Thinking this to myself, you've come so far, you're so intelligent, you're so amazing. Well, they've gone back to a family reunion, and this is what's happened. All of a sudden, everything that they've gone through, they're starting back to square one again. Be aware, because this happens, and it happens in different situations, and your clients can get triggered in different ways, and all of a sudden the identity, they will revert back to that one that helped them survive in their family, help them survive in many different ways. And we see this quite often with divorced people who will go back to that same situation because it's comfortable. That's their identity, and they're having a difficult time changing and moving on. So those are just a couple of different scenarios that I've given you, but go through that framework. Make sure you go and get that PDF at louiseannemaurice.com in the free resources section, because there'll be more questions and activities to help you move through this. Any questions, make sure you're reaching out in the Q&A area if you're in my Udemy courses, or in the comment section below.